The following is a production of the Department of Broadcasting at Western Illinois University.
Live from Saline Hall in high definition. News 3 starts now.
We begin with developing news out of McDonough County, where a crash has claimed the lives of a Western Illinois University student. Good afternoon and welcome to Live at 4. I'm Drew Hoffman.
And I'm Franny Smith. News 3's Shanae Glasgow talked to police at the scene last night. She joins us with more information.
Franny, Drew, Illinois State Police tell us that Ty Rylander died in that crash. It happened on US 67 South and Grant Street last night. Rylander, a Pittsfield native, was a freshman here at WIU, majoring in agriculture. He was also a part of the Alpha Gamma Sigma fraternity. According to the Illinois State Police, Rylander was traveling southbound on US Route 67 when his Chevy pickup truck crossed the center line into oncoming traffic, hitting a semi-truck carrying salt. The semi landed in an embankment, and the driver of that semi suffered no injuries. News 3 was at the scene of the crash all night as emergency crews worked in the bitter cold to investigate what happened. This comes just a month after two WIU students died in a crash 6 miles south of Macomb. The visitation for Rylander is this Friday, November 21st at Niebuhr Funeral Home in Pittsfield from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Funeral services will be held the following day at the Pittsfield United Methodist Church at 10:30 a.m. Reporting for News 3, I'm Shanae Glasgow.
Thank you, Shanae. In more local news, another fatal crash, this time in Henderson County, claims the lives of two people. The crash happened around 9 p.m. last night. The two-vehicle crash killed 46-year-old Christopher Brooks of Galesburg and 50-year-old Cynthia Stambaugh. ISP says Brooks was driving eastbound on US 34 between Biggsville and Gulfport when his Jeep crossed the center line and collided with Stambaugh's 2008 Kia. Police say Christopher Brooks was not wearing his seatbelt and Stambaugh was at the time of the accident. The crash is still under investigation. The McDonough County Sheriff's Department has made an arrest in a connection to a charge of financial exploitation of the elderly. 61-year-old Sheila Owens was arrested Friday. Police say Owens provided home health care for an 89-year-old woman. She's accused of stealing $78,000 during the 2.5 years she spent taking care of the patient. Owens was released from the McDonough County Jail on a $10,000 bail. Police say the investigation is still ongoing and additional charges may be filed at a later date.
An autopsy is expected to be done today for a man who perished in a fire last night. 63-year-old Michael D. Bensinger passed away last night in a fire in Carthage, Illinois. Hancock County Sheriff Scott Bensinger reports that Carthage Fire Department responded at 10:27 p.m. to a fire at the Bensinger Home Supply Store. The building sustained major fire and water damage, and the fire may have been caused by an LP heater. Michael Bensinger was the father of Hancock County Sheriff Scott Bensinger. It was just a year ago yesterday when the only November EF4 in Illinois history touched down, and nowhere was the damage greater than in the town of Washington, Illinois.
News 3's Emily Manley visited Washington last week, and she joins us now on how the residents are rebuilding. Emily.
Thanks, Franny and Drew. I was there, and it was quite a sight. And in remembrance of the anniversary, many media outlets, including us here at News 3, sat down with several locals who have been busy rebuilding their homes and their lives.
It was an event that shocked the nation. In a matter of minutes, hundreds of structures and 3 lives were lost in a tornado that shattered the town's innocence. People feared Washington would never be the same again.
Bear with us and let us assess the damage, and we're going to move in, and then we're going to work like crazy to build Washington back to the community it is.
And rebuild they did. The town of 40,000 strong saw a huge influx of food and clothes, with people eager to help. Those who had a roof over their head helped those who did not. The Kellys' house went from rubble to rebuilt in 6 months.
We were able to save the basement by heating it and making sure everything was okay so they could build the same footprint.
The rebuilding process extends past the material and into the attitude of the people.
Home is where the heart is, to me.
And perhaps no leader has been greater in lifting the spirits of Washington than its mayor.
And we can pick up the pieces and rebuild and be better Washington. I started that day one, and we're still cheering.
And the common theme throughout the town seemed to be that everybody has not only rebounded from the devastation, but has actually came back stronger. The citizens of Washington are grateful for all those who have donated their clothes, food, and time in their rebuilding efforts to help rebuild their community.
Thank you, Emily. The Macomb City Council has reached a decision on whether or not to provide the Outskirts Event Center with a Class R liquor license. The City Council approved the liquor license by a 4-2 vote. The license will be issued pending an inspection from the McDonough County Health Department. The license would also be good for Sunday sales, extended hours, and catering services.
I knew it was going to be an issue, just for the simple fact we are bringing something that's a little out of the box. The city and I and our attorneys and the staff here have worked to make things beneficial for both. Are they perfect? No, but I think we came to the agreement that we're going to work towards something that does fit what we're doing.
According to the McDonough County Health Department, the inspection will take place tomorrow at 10 a.m. And there's a new First Ward Alderman in Macomb. The announcement came at last night's City Council meeting. Mike Wayland was appointed by Macomb Mayor Mike Inman, and the City Council approved Wayland for the seat by a unanimous vote. Wayland is currently the manager of the Hollister Home Center on West Jackson Street in Macomb. The responses from other aldermen were positive.
Fourth Ward Alderman Dave Dorsett released a statement on his Facebook page earlier today. I would like to offer thanks and congratulations to the newly named First Ward Alderman, Mike Wayland. Wayland will be sworn into office at the Macomb City Council meeting December 1st. And moving to weather, frigid temperatures are making it difficult to get around, and the snow on the sidewalks is making it slick out there. The normal average temperature is a balming 49 degrees. News 3's Matt Kablusik tells us how long we have to bundle up in his first forecast. Matt?
Yeah, thanks. It actually might not be just too long before we start reaching around that temperature of 49, like you said, is our average temperature for this time of year. But for today, we're sticking around 24, sticking around the low 20s. The sun is trying to come through the clouds, but really isn't being successful. As you can see, partly cloudy skies with the wind chill sitting right at 11. With winds coming out of the west at a pretty gusty 17 miles per hour. And if we take a look at our regional temperatures all around the area, pretty much just sticking mid to low 20s, with 17 in Bloomington being the exception, 20 in Galesburg, 27 in Keokuk, and 25 down in Quincy. Stay tuned for my full weather forecast. We do have rain, and we are approaching 50 sometime in the near future. Back to you guys.
Whew, cold, cold, cold. Thanks, Matt. Former program is making a comeback at Macomb High School in 2015. By unanimous decision, the Macomb Board of Education approved the return of the agri-science program starting next fall. According to board members, bringing back this program will open up opportunities for more Macomb students who originally commute to West Prairie for ag courses. Macomb High School will be celebrating their 50th anniversary, and after this decision, this will mark the first time the school has had such a program since then.
As the temperatures continue to drop, you could definitely use a warm cuddle buddy. And that leads us to this week's Pet of the Week. His name is Nash, and he's a 6-year-old feline that is the ideal lazy cat. He is neutered, his front paws are declawed, and he definitely doesn't mind being held, which will come in handy on these chilly days we're having. Nash is one of the many animals waiting to be adopted at the McDonough County Animal Shelter, which is located on the north end of town on Tower Road. Coming up after the break, Western and Washington have gotten closer over the past year, and they continue to get closer. I'll bring you the story of what makes this relationship so special for both communities.
Plus, the decision of the grand jury on the shooting of Michael Brown by a police officer in Ferguson is just around the corner. Missouri's Governor Jay Nixon is stepping up security, and he's not the only one who is taking action. We'll tell you who in 2 minutes.
Now from Macomb in high definition, you're watching Franny Smith, Drew Hoffman, weather with meteorology major Matt Kablusik, and sports with Jeff Marda. Live at 4 continues.
On November 17, 2013, hundreds of people went to Washington in their time of crisis. Of those hundreds, there were Western students there to do anything they could. A year has gone by, and those same students are still helping in Washington. I got to talk to those students and found out how their lives have changed in the past year.
We are a young student body, and it's practically happened in our backyard.
When the EF4 tornado struck Washington, Illinois last year, the hearts of everyone across the nation dropped, and Western students wanted to help immediately.
It was kind of a calling that I felt that had to be called, like from what we're studying in. It was something that I think myself and a lot of the other students who participated in helping out with them really felt like it was something we just had to do.
When it came to how Western was able to help in the recovery, Professor Jack Rosdilsky and his class brought attention to the victims that were lost in the mix, which were the small business owners in the town of Washington.
You may not remember all the things that you need to do when you're dealt a hand like this, and what Dr. Rosdilsky's class did was really pointed out to me that this is an important part of the community. Even though they did not physically suffer any damage, they are damaged. They are victims.
The students not only helped the community rebuild from the ground up, but also found out what it feels like to be a part of something so devastating.
A mixture of feelings. You feel sad. You feel just mortal, I guess is the right word, that in a second, everything can be taken away.
It's now been a full year since tragedy struck, and Western's presence in the Washington community is still very strong. Students still go once to twice a month. And after everything they've seen and after everything they've done, one thought comes to mind.
To be a part of that, even though I'm not a member of the Washington community, to be a part of that, to help that community recover, was an amazing feeling, and I wouldn't trade it in for the world.
The Washington community is currently 75% rebuilt. When it comes to the remaining 25%, Professor Rosdilsky and his students will be there to help in any way they can.
Amtrak is adding another train to its Chicago-Quincy line for the Thanksgiving holiday. On November 30th, Amtrak will add a third train to its schedule of trains traveling from Chicago to Quincy. The train will work as a midday trip and leave Union Station at 11:30 a.m. The train is scheduled to arrive in Macomb around 3 p.m. The added train is planned to alleviate the crowds that Amtrak receives from students coming back to school from the Thanksgiving holiday. WIU is helping students to quit smoking. The Great American Smokeout will be held on throughout campus on November 20th. There will be information on the hazards of smoking, using tobacco, and picking up cigarette butts around the campus to show the impact of the butts. There will be awareness tables throughout campus and Subway sandwiches for the first 50 people who commit to stop smoking for one day.
In news out of Missouri, pending the decision of Michael Brown, the Governor Jay Nixon has declared a state of emergency in Ferguson. Earlier this week, Governor Nixon called in the National Guard in order to prepare for the grand jury's decision in the Michael Brown case. The FBI has also issued a nationwide bulletin to the law enforcement warning of possible violence after the decision is made. According to CNN, the National Guard isn't the only law enforcement agency around Ferguson. There's also been reports of Homeland Security parked at a hotel 30 minutes away.
The weather has forced us to bring out all of our warm clothing.
After break, News 3's Matt Kablusik will tell us how much colder you'll be getting in his first full weather forecast.
Stories, they happen everywhere. At News 3, we go the distance and tell them firsthand. Across the region,
the tornado tore through a neighborhood in Washington, Illinois.
Across the state.
Here at the state capitol in Springfield for the gubernatorial race.
Across generations.
We have a lot of people that are very dedicated. We're all volunteers.
The stories that inform us, the stories that move us, the stories that matter from a fresh perspective.
What did you want to be when you grew up? Now, how do you make it happen? Think purple, think success, think Western Illinois University.
When the big stories strike, count on award winners to provide you intimate and in-depth coverage. On the air and online, local news, fresh perspective.
Welcome back to News 3, where we're dealing with a current temperature of 24 with partly cloudy skies right now, with the sun really trying to come through and heat up the ground, but that's not quite happening. We are dealing with pretty similar temperatures to what we were dealing with yesterday, but the only difference is yesterday it was much gustier than it was today. Our high for yesterday, our wind chill, was only 5 degrees, but right now we're sitting at 11, which is already better than yesterday. But if we look at our temperatures around the area, in Galesburg we're looking at 20, Keokuk 27, Springfield 23, and 22 in Peoria. Looking like we're sticking around the mid-20s, mid to low 20s for right now. And if we take a look at our surface map, no real system of low or high pressure impacting our area, but we are dealing with the cloudy skies over us right now with a little broken, clearer skies off to the west that will be bringing in sunnier skies over the next 2 or 3 days, possibly warming up warming up our temperatures for this upcoming weekend. If we take a look at our radar map, nothing really going on right now, but we do have some lake effect snow affecting the western coast of Michigan as for right now. As for tonight, we're dealing with mostly cloudy skies, going to be retaining in all of the heat that we do have here on the surface, only going down to a low of 19, which is just about a 5-degree dip to what we're dealing with right now. Wind chills only going down to about 8, with the winds shifting to southerly winds at about 10 to 15 miles per hour, which does help heat up our temperatures. As for tomorrow, we're going to be dealing with cloudy and windy conditions with a high of 30, with winds coming out of the west at about 15, with gusts up to 28 miles per hour. So look out for that. As for our 5-day forecast, like I said, Wednesday we're going to be dealing with 30 with very windy conditions, partly sunny skies, on Thursday and Friday with 28 and 33 respectively. As for the weekend, we get all the way very close to 50 degrees, 48 on both Saturday and Sunday, with a potential for rain, not snow, but rain on both Saturday and Sunday, 50% on Saturday and 60% on Sunday. Guys, back to you.
Do you think this will continue, the balmy 48? Will that hopefully continue into next week, do you think, Matt?
I'm not quite sure. I haven't looked that far, but hopefully, I mean, as you said earlier, our average for this time of year is 49, so it looks like we're going to be bouncing back to about our average for this weekend. Hopefully staying away from the snow for just a little bit longer. Hopefully it can come through Thanksgiving break just a little bit.
One can only hope. I know my car needs a break. My car broke down last night, so I definitely, who knows, dead battery, too cold. That just needs a break. I don't know.
All right, thank you, Matt. Jeff is in next with sports, and he has a review of all the Western Illinois sports from over the weekend, including Western Illinois football in South Dakota. See how the Leathernecks would handle the snowy conditions in Brookings.
And women's basketball made their regular season debut at home Sunday. See how Western would turn a 17-point halftime lead into a 47-point blowout. That and more straight ahead.
And welcome back to Live at 4. It had been 4 years since Leatherneck football had played a game in the snow until Saturday, when the team traveled to South Dakota State University for the last road game of the season. On South Dakota State's second possession of this game, they give it to the senior, Zach Zenner, and he runs it down the field 67 yards, beats everyone out for the early touchdown for the Jackrabbits. And the weather would play a role in this game from the start to the finish here. Lance Lenore going to gather the kick, and he tries running with it. The only problem is he gets popped from behind as he rolls over, and out comes the football. That turnover turned into Austin Sumner throwing it up into the corner of the end zone. It's Jason Schneider making the catch in the end zone, or did he? Referee is going to go ahead and say touchdown, but with a second look, shows that he never quite had full possession, but with no replay capabilities at the stadium, they're going to leave it at a touchdown. Western did do its best in this one to stay in the game. Norvell getting the pass here, throwing it up to Lance Lenore for a 41-yard touchdown. It is the 6th time we've seen that combination happen this season. But South Dakota State would just be too much in this one here. Sumner going to give it to Zenner out in the flat, and he's going to outrun Venegodi and everyone else for a 40-yard touchdown. Sumner threw 6 touchdown passes on the Leatherneck defense. Western Illinois would fall 59-24 and move to 4-7 on the season. Now, after losing a nail-biter to Pacific on Friday, the Western Illinois men's basketball team headed up north to the Windy City for a non-conference matchup with the Flames from the University of Illinois Chicago. The Flames got out to a 9-point lead in the second half on Western before WIU made its comeback. Western started seeing some of its new players gel together as they got the UIC lead down to 1. Junior transfer J.C. Fuller led the Leatherneck attack with 14 points, and sophomore Garrett Covington totaling a career-high 9 assists. Unfortunately, the Flames finished Western with clutch free throws at the end of the fourth quarter. Western Illinois will next take on Southeastern Louisiana this Saturday at Western Hall. And after a tough loss to Mizzou over the weekend, the women's basketball team looked to regain its confidence at home last night against NAIA opponent William Woods. Western Illinois was picked to finish 4th in the Summit League by the preseason polls, but all the team was looking to do was improve on its 14-16 record from last season. They're going to get this game started right off the opening tip. Luke wins the tip, and the ball gets pushed up by Michelle Maher to Tori Neiman for a quick 2 points in just the game's first 4 seconds. Now it's Liz Katowski who's going to get the ball. She's going to pull up from 3. That won't go. But after the scramble, it's newcomer Jenna Mueller cleaning up the mess and getting 2 quick points here early on. Now we have another newcomer here. It's Crystal Korn working with Mueller, throwing it inside, gets it right back, and she's going to pop the 3-pointer. That's good. Korn gave her efforts on defense as well as offense here. She's going to get the steal and runs it back down the floor. And now she's going to start the rotation of passes. She throws it around the horn. It's going to find Katowski back up at the top of the key. Hits that 3. Western led by 17 at the half. Finally, Luke with the play, doing as usual, making the layup for the N1. She finished with 18 points, and the subs contributed as well late. Here, Sophie Reichelt gets to the basket and scores on the second effort. Western Illinois takes the game 89-42 for its first win of the season. And Western Illinois will continue its season on Thursday against Chicago State. So guys, Drew, I'm wondering if you're still defrosting from that game on Saturday. It was cold.
Yeah, I feel like ever since we got there at the start at around 7 o'clock until the game, it snowed the entire time we were there. And when I mean the entire time, I mean the entire time.
And we were there, that field was frozen solid. There's no cushion there. I'm sure the guys were really hurt when they were getting tackled and beat up. It was a very physical game.
Yeah, if we had to describe the field, it was definitely concrete-ish.
Do you think it's as fun as playing in like the rain and the mud, or does that be a little
Not
worse?
at all. No.
Not even the same. Okay. Just thought I'd ask.
Thank you, Jeff.
Coming up next on Live at 4, a recent blast of cold weather is affecting people and some sea creatures alike.
See what one animal rehab center is doing to help.
A number of green sea turtles have turned up along the Texas coast, stunned by the cold temperatures. About 35 turtles are now receiving care at the Animal Rehab Keep in Port Arkansas.
The animals will be nursed back to health while spending the winter at the sanctuary. A team from SeaWorld in San Antonio is also aiding the Little Turtle Rescue. And that will do it for our Tuesday show. For Jeff Marta, I'm Drew Hoffman.
And for Matt Kablusik, I'm Franny Smith. We'll stay on top of your news overnight and bring you the latest updates on our Facebook page. Find us at News 3 WIU.
Have a good evening.